I'm just wondering if you can explain what a showrunner does and what their part is in the production of a show.
I'll use a sports analogy because I'm a huge NFL guy. It's a little bit like a head coach, and you're in charge of, every facet for the most part. You're in charge of every coach underneath you and staff and all that.
Screenwriters Talk Screenwriting.
You're the first to go if the show doesn't succeed. So with that in mind, you have to fight for what you believe in. There's no question about that. You cannot cave when, if you feel strongly and you trust your instincts, you have to listen to your instincts at all times. You have to be secure in your beliefs creatively and stick with it. Because if I'm going to fail, I'm okay failing by that way, that I listen to myself and I failed. That's okay. But I've also done this before where I've sold things to streamers, and then I've listened to all of their notes and I've taken all of their notes, and then they get the script and they're like, well, you know what? This isn't what we wanted. And it's like, this is exactly what you wanted.
Screenwriters Talk Screenwriting.
So you worked with a ton of showrunners, like 13, 14 different shows. Do you have a favorite showrunner, or do you have any advice from a showrunner you've learned that you've kind of kept with you?
I've learned from so many great showrunners, Steve Levitan, Chris Lloyd, and Greg Daniels are some of the bigger ones. And you can learn, I kept a book. What else? Here it is. I got my book. Here's my book. And I would just, every time I learn something, I write it down. And so, they all have a different way, of approaching story, but very thoughtfully. And that's how you really learn story structure, which is the goal, right? That's everything in writing. Jokes are not in the beginning, at least back in the day, you could divide a writer in comedy. You'd be like a joke person or you're a story person. That's what people would ask. You just line up into two different camps. And I certainly was a joke person in the beginning. My partner was more of a story person. But as I progressed in my career, I'm definitely half and half now, because story is everything. The jokes, whatever, we can come up with more jokes, but the story has to hold together.
Screenwriters Talk Screenwriting.
Is there any showrunning advice you'd want to give to people who want to pretty much do the same thing, either star? Like I know a lot of actors who do that, where they and Broad City did that too, where they were the stars of their own web series. And you learn so much as a showrunner, not only the writing part, but like getting all the people together and making sure this thing happens. Is there any show running advice you'd want to share?
If you don't know something, you hire people around you to make you shine and them shine. And it takes a village, as they say. But if you have a really good team to, pick up where you maybe don't have as much experience, but other people do, and it all fits to get all the puzzle pieces fit together like one puzzle.
Yeah, having those puzzle pieces, I think everyone you bring on board is kind of a puzzle piece. And you have when we started this, it was you, and then it was me, and then you bring Maria. So you have all these different puzzle pieces coming together now. And I think the puzzle will be complete. For me, I always I think we talked about this too. Like I love to hire hell yes people. Like when I bring people onto my projects, sometimes I use the same people and over again, because I know they're hell yes people. When I ask them if they want to do this, they're excited, and they always bring more than I think. I'm like, hey, can you do this? And they want to do this and they want to do that. And it's like, all right, awesome. Like this keeps the momentum going. It keeps things moving forward and gets things done.
Yeah, I know. I have all of my people are hell yes people. I like that. I like that term, what you say. Yeah. Hell yeah.
Screenwriters Talk Screenwriting.
I really love hearing showrunning advice. I would like, do you have any best advice from Jenny?
From Jenny, yeah. I remember talking to Jenny about, I must have been my season 2 staffing meeting for Jane, about season 1 and how much I loved it, and how all the characters were so nuanced and whatever. And Jenny gave this piece of advice that has this now just become a Jenny Erman fan podcast. Welcome, friends. We've got stationery. Jenny said, I do a pass on every script from every character's point of view. And that way I know that, because it's important to me that the villains think of themselves as the hero of the story, right? And like Petra, who was so evil season 1, everything Petra does has to be because she thinks this is her story and she's the hero, and it has to make sense in the context of her acting and what would be the heroic way in the story in her head. And if you get to a moment where they're just being evil for drama's sake, or because it helps your main character, or because it pushes your story along, that's when it begins to feel inauthentic. And that's when it begins to, not work. And so sometimes it's painful because you have to go back to the writer's room and say, like, this thing that made Jane's story really work well isn't ringing true to me. We need to find out a different way, a different obstacle to throw Jane, because Petra being evil for no reason isn't a good enough reason.
Screenwriting is way easier and way more fun when you're not doing it alone. That's why I created the Screenwriting Success Club. It's a community for totally new and pro screenwriters. Inside, you'll find everything you need to finally finish your scripts and get them noticed. With your membership, you'll get on-demand screenwriting courses and interviews from blockbuster screenwriters and TV showrunners, dedicated Zoom writing sessions because writing is way more fun together, and a lot more. Don't wait. Click the link in the video description and join the Screenwriting Success Club today.
Screenwriters Talk Screenwriting.
I want to know more about what it was like working with these big franchises like Marvel and now Star Wars.
It's been a pleasure. I mean, it's, I guess you would think it would maybe be, I mean, it was terrifying at first. I mean, I was absolutely, terrified every day. It was like, so it's been great. But as you work with Kevin Feige, you realize, like, oh, this guy is the best guy, the best collaborator. You know, there's so much belief in you when you get hired there, and they really they let you find it. You know, they understand that stories take time to develop and everything. And they gave myself and my writing staff, you know, the space we needed to find Loki, to find the tone and everything. And so for me, working with Kevin, specifically in this world of big IP, it's been an absolute dream.
Nice. So did you find that you had a lot of creative freedom and that you weren't faced with a lot of restrictions?
Well, there's a character named Alligator Loki.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look no further than that to see how little restrictions I had.
That isn't something from a comic book. That's from your mind.
That was just my own stupid idea.
Oh, good. They do allow stupid ideas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Screenwriters Talk Screenwriting.
I love like all the character arcs too. Like, do you guys plan those? How much do you plan those in advance, character arcs?
So the showrunners do have, you know, a long-term plan for the show, and there are things, you know, that they wanted to do in season one that they didn't end up doing until later seasons, and so on. They do come into every season with a sort of a general plan of like, okay, well, this is a season where, you know, they always knew season 3 would end with Johnny and Daniel working together for the first time. And then it was just a matter of, okay, how do we get them to that place and what has to happen to make that happen? You know, with the other characters, with the more, you know, minor characters, there's a lot more leeway and a lot more things change as we go through the writer's room process. We mostly do work season to season for all of the characters, although we did, you know, some things, you know, they always knew that Johnny and Daniel would end up working together against Kreese, and they were timing it to be around the end of season 3. But a lot of stuff we, you know, work out as we go.
Screenwriters Talk Screenwriting.
So Hugh, you've worked on a lot of shows. Which would you say is your favorite, and what made it your favorite?
The Showbiz show with Spade was among my favorites because I created it. I pitched the pilot got made, went straight to series, was on for 3 years. And so it's mine, you know, like I hired all the writers and I hired the director and the set design. So I can really take pride and ownership of an entire TV series coming from my vision.
Screenwriters Talk Screenwriting.
Because when I was hired as a writer's assistant on How I Met Your Mother, I don't think I was the most qualified for the job. But the person hiring me basically told me it came down to you and like one or two other people. And I was definitely not the most qualified, but she was like, I kind of pictured who I'd want to hang out in the room with at like when it's 11 o'clock and you don't want to be there anymore. And you won. So congratulations. Don't screw me on this. If you don't like the people you're working with, especially Chris, who now I've been working with for 2.5 years straight on this. And I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say I text him probably once a day, if not once every other day, about something inane. You have to have a friendly, sort of playful relationship with these people. Otherwise, you're just going to go crazy. Like you can't. But I don't know. I haven't worked with many people who are just like ornery or like cantankerous. Like those people have kind of been weeded out as far as I can tell. Like I'm sure there's still a couple running around, but I haven't worked with any of them. All the people I've worked with now are very sweet and funny and friendly, because nobody wants. I think people have realized that it's just sort of, it's not fun to work with those people. And there's so many talented people who aren't mean that it's like, okay, well, I don't think we need this guy anymore. And it's always a guy. I think I'm okay gender stereotyping there. It's always the guy that's the jerk. But Chris is like super smart, super funny, and I'm very lucky to be attached to his coattails. And I think he raises my quote quite a bit because he's very good. And they don't have to pay me as much as him, but they have to get close.
Watch full interviews from Screenwriters Talk Screenwriting inside the Screenwriting Success Club. Just click on the Classroom tab inside the club. Don't wait. Click the link in the video description and join the Screenwriting Success Club today.